This next video is going to be testing the manifold absolute pressure sensor, or the MAP sensor. And we're going to do it the same way. We're going to test it with a fluke, the scan tool, and an oscilloscope. And we'll use the same hacks that we did before, using the same meter leads with the fluke as we do with the scan or the scope, to kind of save time. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, this is the MAP sensor here. I've got it disconnected and kind of setting off to the side a little bit, but it has a vacuum tube right here that manifold vacuum is hooked up to. This is the port from the intake manifold that usually hooks up to it. Then I've got a connector. It's a 3-wire connector. So I've got my pin probed into the signal wire of the manifold absolute pressure sensor, and this clear tube is a vacuum pump, which is what I'm using to test the MAP sensor with. So it's one of these vacuum pumps. So when I apply vacuum to the MAP sensor, the voltage value should change. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my meter leads hooked up. I'm going to put my my meter onto the voltage scale. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply vacuum, and I'll see if I can get this vacuum gauge in the frame so you can see it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply vacuum, and you can see the voltage change. It goes from 5 volts down to a little less than 1 volt. It should go down to about 1/2 volt, I think. And then when I release the vacuum, it should go back up to 5 volts or close to it. So that's how you test a MAP sensor with a fluke meter. We're going to test the MAP sensor with the scan tool now, and we really didn't need to change the scan tool at all. I left the scan tool on from when I tested with the throttle position sensor. So now I come over here and I look at the MAP sensor right here. So I'm going to expand that out. It gives me, right now I'm at about 30 millivolts, looks like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it some vacuum, and you should see the voltage change. So I apply vacuum to it. Right there, you see that yellow cursor dropping down here. I've got vacuum applied to the MAP sensor. Looks like the vacuum's bleeding off a little bit because it's going back up. So I'm applying, this is inches of vacuum right up here. So it's 12 inches of vacuum that I've got applied to it. And we'll back that off. Goes back up. Oh, sorry, that's not inches of vacuum. So what I'm looking for is a reaction with the MAP sensor, and it looks like it's working. Okay, without disconnecting the meter leads from the vehicle, we just plugged the fluke meter leads into the Pico scope meter leads. And now we'll come over here to the Pico Software, and we're going to go up here to the automotive drop down, and we're going to go to sensors, and we're going to go down here to manifold absolute pressure. Now it gives us several different choices here. It gives us an analog, it gives us a analog turbo, and a digital, and a TMAP, which is a diesel. This one happens to be an analog one. So you need to make sure you understand which MAP sensor you have on your vehicle. And then we're going to go over here to analog petrol. So that's the one that this one is. And it should give us an example waveform right there. And then it'll give us the instruction sheet on how to hook up the scope. We're going to minimize that. And I'm going to go ahead and start the trace. Now if you remember, on a MAP sensor, we have to apply vacuum to it in order for it to react. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply vacuum. And as you see, when I apply vacuum, it goes down. And it goes, that's about as much vacuum as I can supply. And then I release the vacuum, it comes back up. It happens instantaneously. And there it goes. So that's how you would test the MAP sensor with an oscilloscope.